Hola, ¿qué tal? How you guys? Welcome everybody. I don't know who's out there, but if you're out there, please type in, chime in. We are live. It is episode 239, so coming up on 240. We are looking at not a tobacco-based scent. Ha ha ha. We're looking at a summer, spring, freshy. Could rock it in the fall. You could rock it in the winter. It doesn't really fit those seasons, but whatever. It is from the house of Armaf, Trebon. We're looking at Trebon from Armaf. Now, yeah, I know. Tacky, weird, wonky triangle bottle. It's got the Armaf thing on the cap right there. Guys, before I field a potential barrage of possibly hateful comments on the cheapness of this house and the cheapness of this scent, and how this is a crappy clone of just another crap clone of Aventus. Let's get a few things out of the way. Firstly, Armaf is basically one of the leading commercial houses out of more or less Dubai, out of the United Arab Emirates area. And they make some incredible quality products that span the gamut from absolutely super cheap to uber luxury lines that cost hundreds and hundreds, in some cases well over $1,000 for one bottle. So there's that. Keep that in mind. And secondly, this is not an Aventus clone. It's just simply not. This has very little in common with Aventus. We'll get into that in a second. So this is not a clone of Aventus. I will try to address some of the long-standing comparisons and hype surrounding this fragrance in terms of Aventus, like its kissing cousin or older brother, Le Parfait, which I reviewed some months back, and as have obviously many other reviewers online. And thirdly, lastly, but not leastly, guys, this is a $20 to $30 bottle of juice. Period. You can get this now as low as $20. By the way, the box, while I'm at it, looks like this. Also, just as tacky, if not more, than the bottle. It's got this fake crushed velvet and this fake little leather belt buckle thingy. It says Sterling Perfumes on the back. Okay, a bunch of Russian on the bottom and some Arabic and some other languages as well. In honor of Big Beard B, toss the box. Doesn't mean the thing. Anyways, before we get into the scent itself, this has one of the crappiest. Yeah, I would probably say this is the worst spray head I have ever used in my entire life. Being in the fragrance game now well over a year, and obviously having used fragrances for way more than that, longer than some of you guys out there been alive, sadly, or not sadly, but weirdly. This is probably the singularly worst spray head I have ever come across, and I will demonstrate. It wants to go wonky to the side, while you're trying to hold it. I'll just do it with my thumb. Even with my thumb, it wants to lean to one side. But if I try with the index, yeah, I kind of got it started better now. But spray itself is not terrible once it gets going. It's not ridiculously bad. It's just overall, it's quite poor. So they definitely cut some corners there. But enough of all that. Nice. Let's get into the smell. By the way, this is a mega compliment getter. I got about 3 or 4 hot compliments today, some from ladies, maybe 1 or 2 from some guys. No, it's not like that, but just saying, hey man, you smell good. What are you wearing? Da, 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 da. Whatever. Really, really good stuff. But let's get into the note breakdown, and then we'll talk further about some of my thoughts on Trebon. Now it opens with, top notes are bergamot, lemon, spicy notes. In the mids, violet, pink pepper, and lavender. And finally, the base, you're going to get sandalwood, vanilla, amber, and musk. Now here's what I get right in the opening. Boom. I get the bergamot and the lemon right away. I get the violet and some of the spice right away. I get the lavender coming up strangely, even though it's deep off in the mids, right away. And just a hint of the pink pepper, very, very slight. The musk comes on also very, very quickly. The sandalwood and the spice kind of create like a nice balsamic, almost a slightly cedary vibe, but with like a very creamy aspect. The vanilla's there, but in terms of the opening, it's quite buried. But if you get your nose right up on skin, and if you're sensitive, I guarantee you should smell the vanilla. And finally, there is just a little hint of the amber that I think comes out more into the heart as it opens, and especially into the dry down. Now into the deep opening development phase where this thing's really in full bloom and almost approaching the final dry down. That's where the amber and musk are really, really going to shine and push forward. Now, if you don't like that, this may not be for you, but this is definitely going to have a nice musky push. Amber is not so strong here. It's used modestly, but it is very obvious. Having said that, it's kind of a weird statement, but to some people, in other words, it might not be obvious, but the musk as it develops and the sandalwood, very obvious. Again, that pink pepper lending just a little bit of spicy zest, along with those earlier spicy notes, which I'm assuming have a little bit of some kind of crushed pepper, maybe the mildest form of like cinnamon or cardamom, something in that terrain. Probably not cinnamon, but you're not real sure. Maybe cardamom. And at any rate, I find that while I'm not super crazy about the opening phase, I find that the development phase and the deep dry down are really, really quite excellent. Not a game changer. It doesn't just blow my socks off. But very, very nice. Very sophisticated, sexy, slightly mature, but in a playful way. And it is unisex, but I mean, it says per own, but honestly, guys, any woman could rock this. Trust me, it's unisex. I would definitely say it skews masculine, but not in like a bone crushing kind of way. It's not just like man, caveman, hammer, animal, me eat meat. No, it's not that kind of masculine. It's just masculine in a suave, debonair, laid back, nighttime, sexy, playful kind of way. I feel like this is a better night scent than a day scent, but by all means, you could certainly rock it in the daytime. I do think also this is fairly office appropriate. I don't think you're going to really just blow doors off, cubicles and things like that, and or your office or your boss's office. It's not that type of fragrance. I went very heavy. I'm not going to lie. I had a long work day, so I wanted to make sure I was covered. Having said that, if you go heavy, you will easily get 10 to 12 hours out of this fragrance. I don't care what anyone else out there says. Trust me, I did it today. I got a solid 12 to 13 hours. Now, granted, me saying that, towards the latter 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, the last quarter of that, it's going to get really, really soft on skin. That is true. But I guarantee if you go like this, you should still smell some on skin. So I have no complaints about longevity whatsoever. Again, I did go heavy. I'm not going to lie about that. If you're only going to go 2 or 3 sprays, yes, I could easily see this disappointing in terms of longevity. But if you go ahead and give yourself about 6 to 8 spritzes, get some on your clothing, you should absolutely be set for an absolute minimum of 7 to 8 hours. And I want to address that real quickly. A lot of us, myself included, we go anosmic. Yes, I'll say it again, anosmic. That means your nose, our noses, my nose included, stops detecting, stops smelling the fragrance or certain notes in the note pyramid of the scent that we're using. So we may stop smelling the musk, we may stop smelling the lemon, we may stop smelling almost all of the fragrance at some point. It does not mean, and trust me, that our friends, our coworkers, our lovers, our wives, our husbands, our significant others, our buddies, whoever, does not mean that they cannot smell us. Trust me, they still smell it. And it never fails to surprise me when I still get compliments way into the life cycle of the fragrance. And I can't even, I haven't smelled it in some cases for at least 2 to 3 hours, or some cases even longer than that. At least not in a way that I would think anyone else can smell it. And they'll say, "Oh man, you smell so good." And I look at them like, "What are you smoking? What do you mean I smell good? I can't even smell it." And they're like, "Oh man, believe me, I smell it." So there's that, right? Keep that in mind when you're judging a fragrance. You may stop smelling it. I challenge you to see whether or not your friends, coworkers, significant others can still smell it. They probably usually can. Trust me. Having said all this, guys, this is an excellent cheapie, an absolute no-brainer. This could absolutely be a phenomenal workhorse in your fragrance rotation game. And now let me end on this note. This is always compared to Aventus, and often also compared to Green Irish Tweed, and often also compared to Club de Nuit, Intense Man, however that goes, and also Carven pour Homme. So let me say that there is some truth to all of that, but I will say that for whatever resemblance this has to Aventus, I would say it's about 15 to 22%. Well, let's say 15 to 25% maximum resemblance. That's it. So I can't imagine entering a room, like say if you were comparing a friend or a stranger or a coworker to some famous person, right? I can't imagine opening a conversation with a close friend saying, "Oh, that guy over there, Jack, or Jane, boy, they sure do look like, George Clooney or Jennifer Lopez," or whatever famous actor crosses your mind, just because there's a 15 to 20% resemblance. I think that would be absolutely astronomically improbable. Now, if you got talking about features or aspects of them, you might say, "Oh yeah, I can kind of see a little of this in their eye or a little of that," but that's way after the fact. That wouldn't play over your mind. You would first talk about, well, who do they actually resemble in general? So if only 15 to 20% resemble someone else, I can't think that would first enter your mind as being something that you would really comment on. So having said that, there are some smoky, slightly birchy, kind of woodsy, musky types of aspects here that are a little bit similar to Aventus. This is a lot more similar to Green Irish Tweed. Not a clone. I said it's a lot more similar to. And it's also quite similar in some respects to Carven pour Homme. Club de Nuit Intense, man, I didn't really get that, except maybe the musk. The musk and maybe just a little bit of that lemon. But to me, Club de Nuit Intense, the lemon there is just so much more pledgy. And I don't get that type of note here hardly at all. That's just me. Also, I would also say there's quite a bit of similarity here between Le Parfait. At the same time, having said that, this is definitely darker. And whereas Le Parfait is a lot closer to Green Irish Tweed, this just makes a nice, polite nod to Green Irish Tweed. It's definitely less similar, if that makes sense. Also, a commenter here, cannot read the name, it's so tiny. Oh, God King is a famous, well, somewhat semi-famous online reviewer that you can catch on sites like Fragrantica and probably Base Notes. I'm guessing. I can't swear to that. But he also made the very succinct and kind of awesome comparison and observation that this reminds him a lot of a combination mashup of Carvin pour Homme, not Carvin Homme, not Carvin Homme, Carvin pour Homme. They offer both, and they are not the same, apparently. And Pharrell Williams' Girl by Comme des Garçons, which I have as well. So I would admit there are quite a few similar notes in here as to Comme des Garçons, but I'll have to revisit that. I wouldn't draw as much of a strong comparison, although I can definitely see what he's getting at and talking about. But I may revisit that here shortly to find out if I feel as strongly about that as he does. But we'll see. At any rate, what else can it be similar to? I'm trying to think. Lastly, it has a little bit, I'd say about maybe 20% DNA, very similar to Millésime Impérial. I think that's a fair comparison. Again, not more than that, but I think part of the DNA makes a very strong nod towards Creed's lovely Millésime Impérial. So that's going to do it as far as my little breakdown on what I get from this really, really fantastic cheapie. Guys, if you get $20 burning a hole in your pocket and you want a fantastic workhorse scent that's going to get you compliments, it's sexy but not overpowering, it's dark but not overly serious and not too dark, has some light, playful aspects in there as well. It's got that sexy musk, some spice, some lemon, some citrus, on and on, some vanilla even. Get your nose on Trebon by Armaf. $20 to $30 max, and you should be set to roll. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks for joining me here on my channel. My name is Steve. Catch me next time. Spray often, spray well. Live life on your terms, baby, not someone else's. Peace.